welcome back to Seaside Alpacas, the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. Today we want to speak a little bit about alpaca fiber. We are most well known for our alpaca tracking programs here, but I often see when the people come to our alpaca tracks and I do the introduction at the beginning, I often see that many people are not aware of the original or actual main purpose of the alpaca, which is producing fiber. Alpacas originate from South America. They are part of the camel family. It's called New World camelids. And they've been domesticated around 6,000 years ago. So it's a long time that they have been bred specifically for their fiber. And the indigenous cultures of South America developed a very high breeding standard, very high quality of alpaca fiber. Now, unfortunately, what happened when South America got colonized by the Spanish in the early 1500s, the Europeans started to introduce sheep to the continent. So the premium pastures, the premium grazing was being reserved for sheep. The alpacas, they got more and more pushed back up into the Andes Mountains. And also with the sheep came new types of parasites. And with the introduction of sheep, their health just got poorer and poorer as well. So we have around a 400-year time window where the alpaca breeding got basically completely destroyed. And then it was in the 1960s, 1970s when they started again with cooperation with universities and science to look into alpaca fiber and to set up new alpaca breeding programs. And then in the 1990s, the first alpacas were allowed to be exported from Peru, and from there on they spread all over the world. And that's where we are today. So we have very good alpaca breeding programs going on all continents now. And the alpaca is really coming back as a luxury fiber that is often compared to cashmere, but it's more durable than cashmere. It is very light, much softer than sheep's wool. It doesn't itch. And yeah, it's a beautiful natural fiber that we can very well use to produce high quality knitwear and clothing. So yeah, let's dive into it. We are here in the middle of our wool workshop or fibercraft studio. And what you can see here, we still have a few bags here that basically contain the alpaca fiber as it came off the animal. So that's from last year's shearing. Shearing happens once a year before it gets too warm, which is usually around May here in Ireland. And the first step after shearing is called skirting. And that means that you kind of spread the fleece out, and then by hand you have to pick out all these little pieces of hay or dirt or blackberries or whatever they got into. That's a typical example here. You can imagine, so there, first of all, there's no machine that gets this stuff out, okay, because it really sticks to the fiber. And you can imagine if something like this stays in the fiber, water wouldn't wash it out. Water washes out the dust, and of course it is washed because before it is processed into yarn. But this would just stick to it, and then it would end up in the yarn. And, you know, we don't want that. So it needs to be cleaned by hand first. And once that is done, then we can send it off to the mill, and the mill processes it into yarn. So there are different steps involved. Yeah, so basically I can show you on small scale here what is actually happening on a big scale in the mills. in the woolen mills. First step after the skirting is done is the carding. Okay, so this is something like that. This lines up the fibers all into one direction, and then you take this off, and then let me see if I can show something close to it. Something like that, maybe. It's not perfect, but you get the idea. It kind of lines the fibers all in one direction, and it gets all the short broken fibers sorted out. And then once you have this, of course, if you want to get an even more premium product, you can use these combs here. But obviously that's even more manual work, so this wouldn't be done in the mill. This is manual work that we can do here in the studio to create some special products here. But coming back to the regular processing, so after this process here, which is called carding, then you have all the fibers lined up, and then you sit down on the spinning wheel here. Or of course in the mills they have machines for it. So then it's spun into yarn. You start with creating one string like this, and then you take 2, 3, or 4 of these single strands or strings and drill them together. So you have 2-ply yarn, 3-ply yarn, 4-ply yarn, and finally you end up with something like this. So this is actually our first delivery of our own. No, it's our second, but it's our first major delivery. So we got around 60 kilogram this year, which is the harvest from 2 years of shearing. So this is all West Cork bred and grown alpaca yarn from our own alpacas, and some of it is also from some other alpaca farms here in West Cork, where we get the yarn from and send it to the mills. So these are 1 kg cones. That's what we need for the knitting machine. You see the knitting machines back here. There are different types of knitting machines for different products. And what we also do is, so from these cones we wind it down to 100 gram batches, and that looks, for example, like this. You see, this is the 100 gram batch of the same yarn that I just showed you on the 1 kg cone. Yeah, there are a lot of different types of yarns. We also work with Peruvian alpaca yarn that we purchase ourselves. You see the different colors in here. We did not start yet to color our yarn or to dye our own yarn, which we want to do at some point. But this is purchased Peruvian alpaca yarn that is obviously dyed. So alpacas provide us with an exceptionally wide range of natural colors. They come in over 20 different colors and shades. So that's really something that they're famous for, to produce all these different colors naturally. But of course the white color is genetically the most dominant color, and it's also the color that is most thought after, basically, or most wanted, because you can dye white in all other colors easily. Yeah, so that's just a little overview, and so next time you see an alpaca, you might realize that they're not only cute, which they are. No, they also grow some gorgeous natural fiber for us. Basically, their nature is to relax and grow fur, and that just makes them really lovely animals. All right, welcome here in the Andes Mountains. Now, what's happening here is, so at the moment we have the alpacas in a hardly accessible pasture. It's actually a piece of the land that we farm here that has only a little footpath going up there. We are planning to add some more fencing in the pasture below so that we can keep the work easier too, but at the moment we have to bring the feed up to them now. We use it as a winter pasture at the moment, so again back to the parasite pressure and everything. So tomorrow is actually the next day where we will dose our alpacas for the parasites. So we kept them up in this pasture for the last probably 3 weeks in this one now. Yeah, come along, I'll show you and I'll tell you more about it. It starts to rain. Here we are. This is one of the winter pastures for the alpacas. Lovely view they have, but it really shows how exposed we are here and why we like to call it a ranch rather than a farm. It's very rocked ground, and in a way the alpacas are still in a similar position as they were for 400 years now. You know, all the premium pastures are used by dairy and cattle farmers here in Ireland, at least. No, this ground suits them well. They are very well adapted to this kind of environment. For us, unfortunately, this is part of the land that we farm where we have no access with machinery. We will change a few of the fencing infrastructure to make it easier on us for next year, but for this year this is the best solution. So really we have so many things to consider here on especially during the winter on the farm, about the weather, about the animals, about the parasite cycles, about the rotation in the field, about the workload. This winter we're very happy with this solution here now. This is the last day for them on this pasture. As you can see, obviously it's grazed down very much anyway. We're bringing up hay now since probably 2-3 weeks, well, since they're here really. You can see the toilet spots in the middle are getting quite huge now. There's obviously more clean pasture just down the slope here. This is just the area where they get the hay and their feed and where they created their toilet spot. And yeah, tomorrow we'll take them off here. The ones that need it will be dosed for parasites, and then they go into fresh pasture. Yeah, that's how it works. And hopefully for us it'll be easier from tomorrow on, and the tough part of the winter will be over. Let's see. Let's see who's the most greedy today. It's always Papa in the middle. He's one of the most greedy. And I think we have a fox up there, living up there. How do you call it in his... Tell me in the comments what you call it. Yeah, the fox lives up there, so the alpacas make sure that the fox behaves. He tried to get one of our chicken yesterday, but he didn't succeed. Anyway, that's how they are fed at the moment. We have this gutter, you know, that you use for roofs as well. Ideally it should be on a stand, of course, but as I said, for us it's really crucial to have all the feeding equipment as light and as mobile as possible, because we really have to watch the weather. Like if the weather turns, we might decide not to feed them in this part of the field, but maybe to feed them just down there behind the slope, because it would be more sheltered from the wind. You know, that can change really from day to day. We don't really like to bring the alpacas into the shed for too long at a time, because we just think it's much more healthy for them if they can be outside, and they clearly enjoy it much more. They get grumpy with each other when they're inside for too long, you know, just like we are. Good, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, hit the like button down there below, and if you enjoyed this content, follow us along on our journey, and maybe see you again next week for the next episode. Until then, have a good one, enjoy the week, and hope to see you then. Bye bye.